things. Okay. Is this working? Yes. Okay, that's fine. ChessDojo. And there we go with YouTube as well. Perfect. Hey Ranga, how are you? All right. Play. All right. I'm gonna grab a few things. Water, a mouse. Nice. Yeah, me too. Starting to look forward to summer for sure. Quoi? Tu as une souris à toi? Tu cherches une souris ou tu as une souris? Okay. I should set up this real quick. Okay, took care of that. We are. Oh, est-ce qu'il y a une souris dans le livre? Non. Yeah. Oh, t'as des vraiment bons livres là.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Is that funny?
C'est très funny. Tu veux t'asseoir sur moi pour lire le livre?
No.
Non?
I want to read it. What's that one?
Celui-là s'appelle Chester's Way.
Oh, I want to read that. It's just so race.
Tu veux ça? Ok, viens ici, je te le lis.
Okay. I want to open a book.
Tu veux tous les livres? Ok.
B.
Attends, qu'est-ce qui se passe ici? Non, ça va.
That's flowers.
Oui.
Why?
Pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a des fleurs sur la chemise?
Yes.
Pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a des fraises sur ta chemise?
Funny.
Uh-huh.
Read that book.
Okay, Chester's Way.
Chester's Way.
All right, folks, the tournament starts in about half an hour, so we have time to slowly gather together. We're going to start with Chester's Way today.
Chester's Way.
Good morning, Tanner. Chester had his own way of doing things. Hello, my name is Chester. I like croquet and peanut butter and making my bed. Here's Chester. He always cut his sandwiches diagonally. A little bit of a bishop. Here, see. He always got out of bed on the same side, and he never left the house without double knotting his shoes. Wow. What a guy, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Teep, said Chester. Wow.
Yeah.
Chester always had the same thing for breakfast. Toast with peanut butter and jam. I could get behind that.
Yeah.
It was super tough. Yeah. I believe you, Tanner. Good work on your part. Anytime you're doing something tough, it's good. Ça va, Zed? And he always carried a miniature first aid kit in his back pocket, just in case. You definitely have a mind of your own, said Chester's mother. That's one way to put it, said Chester's father. Chester's best friend Wilson was exactly the same way. That's why they were best friends. Chester wouldn't play baseball unless Wilson played, and they never swung at the first pitch or slid head first. Wilson wouldn't ride his bike unless Chester wanted to, and they always used hand signals. If Chester was hungry, Wilson was too, but they rarely ate between meals. Some days I can't tell those two apart, said Wilson's mother.
I'm green and orange.
Qu'est-ce que tu veux?
I'm green and orange.
Ça? Tu veux ça?
Yes.
Tu veux la glace?
Yeah.
These guys are eating two different flavors of ice cream, despite being such close besties. One of them has green ice cream, one of them has orange ice cream.
It's yellow. Orange.
Tu penses que c'est pistache ou menthe, ça?
It's yellow. Yeah.
Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was.
It's actually.
By the way, folks, Kevin Henke's books are really good. In general. These are all sweet books.
Free book.
Well, it looks like every book she has today is a Kevin Henke book. She's got the whole mouse collection. They loved to go on picnics. Once, when Wilson accidentally swallowed a watermelon seed and cried because he was afraid that a watermelon plant would grow inside him, Chester swallowed one too. Don't worry, said Chester. Now if you grow a watermelon plant, I'll grow one too. That's pretty nice. Chester duplicated his Christmas list every year and gave a copy to Wilson because they always wanted the same things anyway. For Halloween, they always dressed as things that went together. Salt and pepper shakers, 2 mittens, ham and eggs. They really are 2 peas in a pod, said Chester's mother. Looks like it, said Chester's father. And that's because for that Halloween, they're dressed as 2 peas in a pod. C'est bien ça, hein? Bon déguisement.
My hair will go up in my head.
Oui? Tu t'es réveillé avec tes cheveux aujourd'hui? Yeah.
Sugar. Sugar.
See if we've got the 3 sections here. Yes.
Sugar. Sugar. Sugar.
Let's see who's waiting for the under 1300 tournament to
It's
start.
that baby. That's the baby.
Oh, tu vois une bébé là? Tu sais qui c'est? C'est qui ça? C'est qui cette bébé?
It's so sleepy.
So sleepy, huh?
Yeah.
La bébé dort?
That's not sleepy.
Non, le papa il ne dort pas.
Yeah.
Ça c'est ta grande sœur.
Yeah.
Oui.
That's my daddy.
Et c'est ton papa, oui.
That's funny.
Ouais. In spring.
Baby. It's so little.
Ouais, ouais, elle était super petite, hein?
Yeah.
Incroyable.
That's not big. That's big.
Qu'est-ce qui est grand?
That's big.
Moi, je suis grand?
Yeah.
Ouais.
I'm young. Yeah. Yeah.
Oui. Ouais.
I want to see daddy and daddy.
Il n'y a rien derrière, hein?
That's versus that.
Ça, c'est un truc pour que la photo ne tombe pas. Tu vois?
Yeah.
C'est attaché et ça peut faire un diagonale comme ça. Et ça tient l'image. Pour qu'on puisse mieux voir.
Yeah. And falls is too big.
Mhm.
The-
Fall is tombé, oui.
I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna do this. What's that?
Tu veux le voir tomber?
I'm gonna take this.
Ok, doucement mon amour.
Okay.
Voilà.
See? Voila. I'm going to do this. That's funny.
Oui. Regarde, là il y a toi.
That's me.
Ça c'est toi.
And Dada.
Et ton papa, oui.
And I see flowers is you.
Tu vois les fleurs là, oui.
Yeah.
Et les fraises.
What's it? I can't
Les fraises
see.
sont sur ta chemise ici.
I can't see. It's so yellow.
C'est trop petit pour les voir?
Yeah.
Hey Kat, no, I'm born in the US. Wow.
That's not pants. What's that? That's not piece.
Oui.
Dada. I want to see the flowering.
All right. So notably, looks like we got Andy here in the rapid tournament.
I'm holding it.
Mais tu es juste en train de casser, chérie.
Right.
C'est pas fait pour ça. C'est pas fait pour être cassé.
Right.
Tu peux le laisser s'il te plaît, c'est pour regarder.
No.
Oui,
I want-
je t'assure, c'est pour ça.
I want
Tu veux faire des howies?
out.
Tu veux descendre?
I want this. Just press this.
Non, laisse ces boutons-là aussi.
What's this?
She's in a sort of destructive mood right now.
I want you. Daddy,
Oui,
I want you.
je sais.
Oh, that fall down. This.
Hey, Kat. Sure.
Mom, Daddy. Daddy. Dada. Dada.
What's your name on chess.com? Push-ups 1223. No, Oscar, I don't think my kid is going to be playing today. There we go. Oh, you just joined chess.com this week, huh? Cool. I'm going to give you one or two pieces at the start of the game to make things a little bit more close, okay? And then once I've given you one or two of my pieces, I can try my hardest and we can see how it goes. Nice, you found pawn takes rook. All right, you're already doing pretty well. You can see where all the pieces can go. I'm going to bring out this rook now. Ça va, chérie? Il a besoin de moi? Pourquoi? Vrai besoin? Ça? Ok, bah je suis dans une match de blitz, alors je vais perdre sur le temps si je sors en ce moment. Okay. Il peut essayer de le faire lui-même, comme il fait à l'école. Ok. Okay. Cat, you should take my rook pretty soon. Your knight can take it. Otherwise, your knight's going to end up getting trapped in here and captured. Yeah, I have to bring out my bishop, so I'm going to bring it out, but I won't take your knight. Just yet. I'll give you a move to save it.
I'm falling.
Oh, tombe sur le lit si tu dois tomber, ok? Ça fait moins mal.
I'm not falling, I'm sitting.
Oh, ok. Si t'es bien assise, ça va.
And I not fall down.
Your king's in check, though, so yeah, there you go. All right, so now I'm going to play this pawn up to let these pieces out.
I just fall down.
Tu es tombé, vraiment?
Yeah.
All right, now comes the full fury of my power, Cat, okay? I'm going to play my best now with the pieces I got here. So, watch out. Woo! Très bien, chérie.
Oh, it's mommy.
You're not cooked. You're doing fine. Just bring out your pieces, you know. Put the knight here, put the bishop somewhere. And maybe try to hide your king away somewhere. Oh, nice move. Nice move. All right. That's a great idea to take my knight and bring out a new piece, but I'm going to dodge away with the knight over here. I'm not giving this guy any mercy either, Oscar Chess. I just gave them a little bit of a head start because they've been playing chess for a week. You've been playing for a long time based on your rating. All right. Chess.com claims I made one blunder. Good game, Cat. Do you think this might have been the blunder? Because this move here really looked like a second blunder. So, push-ups, you did a great job of bringing out all your pieces, which was really nice. Developing all your pieces is a very good start to your play. Yeah, so you're doing well. I'm not sure I even have any advice other than to just keep playing. So, yeah, good on you. All right, folks, let's see how we're doing about our tournament. It's supposed to start in 10 minutes. So I see we don't have enough players yet in the under 1300 section, so maybe I'll go post an announcement. Here are the links for anyone who wants to join here, and for folks over on YouTube, here's a link to the chess.com club through which you can join the tournament. You just sort of scroll down, find these here. No. I think we might just have to use the yard, Chloe.
Well, it's impossible. What am I supposed to do? I can't get them all three to walk across. I can't even walk.
Right. Same. Same. Okay, so let's go post an announcement about the tournament, folks. struggling here for a second, but I should be able to get this done eventually. Let's post this little announcement. Bring us some more folks to play. Finishing dinner. Wow, you're way ahead of me. Why the rating groups? Oui. Oui, elle a mangé.
Did Papa eat?
Oui. Rating groups are so people can play with people who are close to them in skill level. And most of the time, in general in chess, it's most interesting to play with people who are somewhat close to you in skill level. I mean, it can be fun now and then to play somebody really good or really bad compared to you. But for the most part, one of the things that makes chess really interesting is not knowing if you're going to win or lose. You know, having that kind of weight and tension on the game, right? A weight on your moves, a tension on the game, right? Not knowing at any point if your next move might win the game or lose the game for you. And if you play somebody too good or too bad, that tension generally disappears, right? Because you either know with near certainty that you will win or lose because your opponent is 1,000 points higher or lower rated than you. So breaking it up into a few rating groups makes it so the games are likely to be pretty competitive and have that kind of tension to them. If you're in the habit of playing people much better or much worse than you, I would suggest playing at odds, like what I just did with Cat Sup, right? Which is have the better player give up a few pieces at the beginning of the game so that you don't really know who's going to win. And you can adjust that handicap every game. You know, if the person with more pieces wins, then the person with less pieces keeps one more piece for the next game. And if the person with less pieces wins the game, then they give up one more piece for the next game, etc. So, okay. Folks, if we want to have a tournament, we're going to have to get a few more people in here. Let me check the other sections. But right now, under 1,300, still needs 2 more players. Let's check our middle section. The 13 to 1,700 group. Can I set what up on chess.com? Okay, 13 to 1,700 group is set. They've got 8 players. They've got a tournament on their hands. Mental Sizz version 2, if you're out there, you're in the wrong section, though. You're rated 2,000. You should be in the higher section. Mental Sizz. There's a section for over 1,700 players, which I will check out how that section's looking right now. And that will be the one for you. Yeah, and that one looks fine too. Got a group of players in there. So it's only the under 1,300 section that needs some more players right now. Oh, yeah, you can do that on chess.com, CatSub. Yeah, you can set up those kind of odds games where from the beginning you start with more or less pieces than an opponent, for sure. So anybody rated between like 300 and 1,000, today's a really good chance to play in our arena. Sometimes the under 1,300 arena has a bunch of players rated 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, and it can be a little intimidating for a new player rated 2, 3, 4, 500. But today we've got players rated 400 and 700, so it would be a great day to pop in for anybody who's newer. Do you want to try playing Cats Up? You probably are not yet a member of our club, so here's a link to our club. You could join the club, and then you could play in your first chess tournament. Ooh. Right on, JW. I hope you will have a pretty go of shaking off the rust. Shaking off the rust, never easy in chess. Or to some extent it is easy. You just have to fall in and, lose, be open to perhaps losing a few games or making a few mistakes and wait it out as your brain revs itself back into normal gear. We do need one more player in this section with 3 minutes to go. This is a little risky. Anybody under 1,300 out there who could play one game to make sure the tournament holds and leave it open for people who are going to come in and trickle in over the next 3 hours to play? Here's the link for under 1,300. Come on down. Needs one more. Amazing. Cat has made it into the tournament. Their first chess tournament of their life. Bravo, Cat. It reminds me, I started going to this hip-hop night here in town. It's every Wednesday night, and they do a writing contest every week as one of about 4 different pieces of the night. And when people come up to perform, many of us beginners like myself, they always say, let's welcome everybody to the stage as if it were their first time performing in front of other people. It's very, very welcoming and very nice. And although they try to welcome everybody with that kind of energy, you also do see that the people for whom it actually is their first time, people are particularly kind and welcoming to those people. So I hope, Kat, aka Push-Ups, that we have been properly welcoming to you and giving you proper respect and kindness as you come in here for the first time and play the first chess tournament of your life. What a wonderful big moment. Just play like you did against me. Bring out all those pieces. You'll be off to a great start in every game with that. And then, we'll take it from there. You'll get to play a few games today. You'll learn something from it, and you'll play in another tournament another day. It will not be your last tournament. Skibix, yes, I saw Prague's game in the Banco. It looks like a rather important game. Very, very nice game. Yeah, I was very happy to see it. Love it. Everybody, the games are about to start, so, buckle your seatbelts, get ready, turn off your distractions, and focus in on live chess where your games are going to be kicking off here. We're going to start by watching a game between JWMCC and No Worries 25. Oscar Chess says they've got a really big group in the 1700 plus, but without Aaron. too bad. We do love Aaron, but, you know, different people are available on different days, and we appreciate the people we have each day. So here we get a Karo Khan from No Worries. The point of this pawn here is to place this pawn in the center, challenging that white pawn and protected and backed up by the c6 pawn. And that next move, d5, is going to let these two pieces out. At the moment, c6 doesn't let the black pieces out very well. But you'll see that as soon as black plays d5, it all makes sense. And sometimes in chess, you do play a move that doesn't necessarily look good on its own, but it allows you to play a good-looking move on the next move. And there is enough time in chess to do things like that, so that works out. All right, white supports their center pawn, just like black is supporting their center pawn. So these pawns, they could get traded, or they could end up facing off for a long time here. Hey, Boil for Life, welcome in. Nice to have you here. Welcome to the dojo. This is a very supportive group of people here. And right now we're playing a little chess tournament amongst ourselves. And you're welcome to just hop in and join if you want to. You'll probably need to join our club on chess.com. I'm guessing you haven't before. That link I just sent you, the chess.com/club/chessdojo. That's how chess.com pairs these tournaments, is through the club. So you have to join the club, and then you can hop right into the tournament. In other news, Push-Ups has got a game going here against Shepherd's Pie. Beautiful. Beautiful. And we've got one player over 1,000 in the tournament right now, Snooto, going toe-to-toe with 926 Andy. We'll see how Andy can do against, a fairly high-rated, experienced player who's probably not going to be giving away much. But you'll still get a couple chances, even against a 1200. You'll have maybe 3 chances in a normal game to win one of their pieces. So, and you'll have to be ready. So far, both players bringing out the pieces really cleanly to important squares while fighting over central territory. So a real reasonable game right there. And I've just noticed that I don't have a power chord. So I'm going to go grab a power cord so that my broadcast doesn't die mid-broadcast. Boil for Life, have you joined the club yet? That would be the first place to start, would be joining this club on chess.com. There is not a join button for the club. Then maybe you're already a member, and you can go ahead and join the appropriate arena. Is your rating over or under 1300? I'm going to go grab a power cord. Maybe somebody in chat can help Boil for Life find their way into the Chess Dojo Club and the tournament right here. I need to go grab my cord. Thanks, Skivix. All right, Boyle for life. If you're 1355, you're going to want to be in the 13 to 1700 group once you're joined. And the 13 to 1700 tournament is this one here. So yeah, enjoy, have fun. We'll see you between games. While you're playing, you'll want to put your whatchamacallit. You'll want to silence the stream when you're playing so that you don't get distracted by me or have me happen to comment on your game and give you ideas while you're playing. And then between games, you can always pop in here and chat with us about how things are going. Looks like we had some drama in this game here between JW Mick 2006 and No Worries. So the drama started with Black playing E5, challenging White's bishop here in the middle of the board. But White has total control over the E5 square and just takes that offending pawn. But after knight D7 attacking the bishop, White got too confident and aggressive here and went for bishop takes G7, not noticing that pawn was defended. Black captured the bishop, and this was a disappointment for White, who had to... And chess involves, taking on a lot of disappointments and rebounding from them, right? So White has to rebound from this disappointment and not go into a negative spiral, but assess the new situation. And they did see that this bishop could capture on b2, trapping their rook. So that was a great rebound from White here. They play c3, showing some real character. Black develops, and the game keeps going. Currently, White has 2 pawns against a bishop, which is a small material disadvantage. So the game is not over as long as White has recovered from the shock of bishop takes g7 from Black. Because presumably, if you didn't see bishop takes g7 for Black, you thought you're kind of winning stuff when you play bishop takes g7, right? You're winning a pawn, you're trapping a rook. You think the game is really going your way, and then boom, cold shower, right? And yeah, that's the kind of thing we all need to get better and better at rebounding from. Oscar Chess, points out something important to know about chess. For everybody out there, this is a useful thing to know. In the starting position, every single pawn is defended. So you can't expect to wander out with one of your pieces and capture one of these pawns. Every single one is defended. So rook, bishop, king. This one here is protected 3 times by the knight, the bishop, the queen. This one here is protected, and the king, right? So 4 times. This one as well, protected by everybody. So those are really well defended. Then the C pawn's defended by the queen, the B pawn's defended by the bishop, and the A pawn's defended by the rook. So every single pawn's defended. So if you're just like playing around and you think, oh, could I just take their pawn? The answer is actually usually no. It's a very good point from Oscar Chess, who is approximately a master level player here in our chat room, with some good advice for the beginner to intermediate players to just sort of get oriented to the story of the board and how it's kind of laid out, right? These pawns are, in general, not available for capture. I agree, Stamen. Especially right after this disappointment of bishop takes g7, for them to realize and play c3 here was a really good moment, which kept the game from spiraling out of control. Because if you get upset, and one thing people sometimes do is they'll play like a violent move in response, trying to set up some kind of a counterattack, right? You think like, oh, the game's not going my way, let me just do something, but you don't necessarily think it through. That kind of move can often lead to losing more and more pieces, like they take here, attacking your queen, and then they take another piece for free. So that can go badly. Another thing that can go badly is a kind of like helpless despondence, right? Where instead of trying to change fate, you feel like, oh, let me just drift into fate, and you just say like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna lose. I'll just castle and wait to see how it happens, and then you lose the next piece, and you're like, oh yeah, of course, woe is me. So there's 2 main ways that a bad event like bishop takes g7 can kind of quickly become decisive, even though one mistake is rarely technically decisive at this level, you can always come back, right? Like you could give me white's position after the mistake, and I could still turn the game around. In fact, most people in chat here could turn the game around if they were giving the position that somebody else had made a mistake in, and they weren't responsible for that mistake, and they weren't feeling bad about it. We could almost all step in and turn around somebody else's game. But turning around your own game when you're feeling that negative emotion around having made a mistake, that is the thing that we all need to get better at. And this was a small step for one pawn, but a pretty good step in that direction for JW Mick. And both players continue with their development. We're going to see whether or not they castle, and if so, in which direction, right? That's kind of the next likely action in the game would be for somebody to castle. Black could have already castled on this move, but chose to develop the queen first, saying maybe they're going to castle in the other direction. And white could also have castled last move, but chose to bring out another knight, saying, hey, maybe white's going to move the queen too, and have the option of castling queenside. So I don't necessarily think white's going to castle on the very next move, but it is possible, and I think it is what the players are thinking about right now, is there a preference for where you want to send the king? They're each about ready to go. Okay, so white develops this knight further to somewhere a little more aggressive. Some decent squares possibly for the knight there, and some more room for the queen. And black does do the castling. So now white knows which way black's going, and they quickly castle. So it feels like maybe white was waiting to go in the same direction as black. So now all the minor pieces are out. The kings are tucked. Normally the next thing I think about in a game, this is not a guaranteed every game order, but typically the next thing that I would think about in a game would be where my rooks might be well placed. The rooks are, for most people, I would say the hardest piece to develop in chess. Because normally to develop your rooks, you need to figure out where you can profitably trade a pawn. And to do that, sometimes you have to have a little bit of a strategic insight into the board, right? Which is a different thing than just, oh, my knight is stuck here, let me just take it off of the back rank. A lot of people know how to develop a knight, right? You might even call that the easiest piece to develop. In the starting position, sometimes people just do this, and okay, good job. You're in good shape. But figuring out where to put the rooks is often tricky because you have to figure out where there is either an open file or a potential for an open file in the future, which means a pawn trade. And pawn trades can be tricky to orchestrate, and knowing where you want to trade and what pawn you want to trade or keep requires sometimes some tricky thought. But as you can see, no worries. They had already lost a pawn earlier, and so they put the rook on that file. Problem solved. White moves the queen to a perfect little tucked spot, kind of like the black queen, and that makes room for the rooks to operate. And so now the players are exiting the opening and entering the middle game, right? They've basically developed 90% or more of their pieces. The rooks are in communication and available. If any file opens up, wherever it is, white would be able to put their rook to that open file. And now we get into the middle game. And so that means middle game, we start thinking about some strategic plans maybe. Like, could I improve this piece, or could I grab some space over there? Is there anything that I need to defend in my position, or any opportunity to attack something in my opponent's position? It's kind of what we're getting into now. Sometimes fighting over an important square in the middle of the board. Sometimes one side or another is going to try to trade a piece. So that's kind of the phase we're going to get into here. Great start to our tournament. Bishop d1 from white. Retreating the piece. I'm not sure where white was thinking this piece would be better, right? Maybe white wanted to bring it around to c2. But white retreated it, and black makes this pawn trade in the center. And actually, black has 3 pieces attacking white's center pawn. White's pawn has been sitting here since move 1. And since move 2, black's pawn has been here attacking it. And they've been in this face-off this whole time. But black has really ramped up the pressure against e4. And white did not keep the pawn properly protected. So now black wins a pawn. And, maybe white was afraid of the queen taking the queen if you play pawn takes pawn. But actually the queen is protected by both knights. So white could recapture the queen, and that's not something white needed to fear. But white moved this pawn, maybe out of fear around that queen trade, but it's going to allow black to perhaps take this knight with the pawn, and black finds it. That's going to increase black's advantage a lot to be able to capture this knight. Yikes. So maybe white didn't see the pawn was attacking the knight, but this knight, obviously every piece is worth something, and this knight was worth something, and now it is gone. Not only is the knight gone, but white needs to properly deal with this pawn here, which is threatening to breach the king's position. Trades it off. Good. Good call. Now, from here as black, I would definitely trade the bishop. First of all, black's ahead by 2 pieces. So trades move black towards a winning endgame. When you're ahead in material, it's generally, by default, pretty good to trade pieces off. Secondly, by trading here, when white recaptures, we're going to break up the pawn structure around white's king. So it's going to make the white king more exposed to getting attacked or checkmated at some point. Can white take back? Yes. All right. Recapturing is good. Must be done in general in chess. You must recapture the pieces. You can't afford to just keep getting behind in pieces. So white recaptures, and from here there are 2 excellent plans for black. And there may be more than that, because black has, a pretty comfortable position with 2 extra pieces. But I would say there's 2 basic ways that you can go about trying to win this game that are both reasonable and acceptable. All right. So one is you just bring both rooks to this open file here, threatening to control the file. It uses all your pieces. It brings this guy into the game. It threatens to dominate. And when your opponent plays rook to e1, you simply trade all the rooks, right? You capture, white captures, you capture again. You just trade all the rooks. That eliminates basically half of white's remaining effective army, right? And moves you closer and closer to a situation where your extra pieces have an easy time walking over white's position, right? The second plan that you could use here as black is you could attack this king because his pawn structure is broken. Okay, and to that end, you would want to follow the ideas that La Sassone-Skak is giving us, which is you want to bring these knights towards these weak squares here. From those squares, the white pawns can never attack the knights, and the knights would then attack a bunch of squares in the opponent's position. Like this and like this would all be attacked by those knights. So if we could transfer these knights forward to these weak spots near the white king, the odds are very good that black would have kind of a strong attacking threats once the knights got there. Or you could keep bringing more pieces in that area to support the knights, and we would really expect that at some point there'd be a strong attack for black. Black has chosen to centralize the queen here in the middle of the board. It threatens this pawn. White should hopefully find a move to defend the pawn, but does not. And black just grabs a pawn and gets close to the king. Now, looking at that king, it's got no squares available anymore. So it is definitely in some danger. Some major danger. We get a rook trade, which black is fine with. So everything is going well for black so far. You know, no worries at all for them. The game's just headed comfortably in their favor. You got cooked, cat? Fair enough. It can happen. What do you feel like happened to you? Did you fail to get your pieces out, or did your king get attacked, or did you lose some pieces to captures and tactics from the opponent? Congratulations, Boil for Life. Good first step for you in your new dojo career. If you stopped playing now and never played chess again in our tournaments, you'd forever have a perfect record in the chess dojo. You would have a 100% winning rate. Pretty good. All right, JWMCC offers another rook trade, which is perfectly good for black. But the problem is, if you don't counter this rook can come into e2, or maybe e4 and then g4. So that's the thing. If you put your pieces on really good squares, sometimes your opponent feels obliged to trade them, right? Because they're just on good squares. What are they supposed to do? They can't play around them, you know? Sandbagging means losing on purpose. So you think somebody's throwing games, Boil for Life? Sorry, still getting past the end of this cold here. Rook e1 played, very nice. Knight g4. So the knight heads towards the king to back up the queen, making some threats soon. Well, if you haven't seen them losing games on purpose, Boil for Life, I don't know. Oh, maybe you're Boyi for Life. I don't know if you can judge whether or not how good someone else is or isn't, and whether they're sandbagging. Yeah, as Lasasanaskak is saying, you know, everybody's got better and worse games on various days, you know, or even better and worse tournaments. Sometimes a whole tournament, you'll play much better or worse. Oof. Queen headed here. White needs a defense pronto. That king's position is about to be breached. Okay, so you just think that they're a good player. They might just be improving, not necessarily sandbagging. That is possible. There are definitely lots of people in the dojo who are in the process of improving and who are now stronger than their ratings reflect because of some work they've done recently. Why is it not showing this next move from White? Knight F1, defending it. Yeah. Good work, JWMCC. Making it tough for Black. And Black is anxious to try and win the game. Brings the knight towards E5, but White can capture it with the pawn. That's what tough defense will get you. It'll get you some occasional unforced errors from your opponents. Took it. Right on. Now White's starting to get low on time, so it's hard to defend. Hard to defend when we start running out of our time resource. I will try to watch one of your games at some point today. Yes, boy, for life. And since it's your first time, I'll just make clear. Don't listen to me while you're playing, right? It'll record, and then you can go back and watch it later. All right, Jailer also shaking off the rust. But a very heart-pounding experience to get back into it. Yes. Yeah. Well, good job, Jailer. There's no way around it, right? That's just how it has to happen. Queen check. Will no worries take this game to an endgame at this point? I would probably recommend it. Think you could trade the queens with check and then trade the last knight. And then the extra bishop should be enough to control the game. That's what I would recommend. But sometimes when you're thinking about checkmating your opponent, it's hard to switch gears, and try to win the game in a different way. But no worries does it. Very good. There, now it's super clean. Now we see why trading is helpful when you're ahead material, because now there's like nothing unpredictable White can do anymore, right? They've got no hopping pieces, no long-range pieces. They can't surprise you with amazing double attacks, triple attacks, and stuff like that, right? So here it's very controlled. As Black, you can sort of predict and see everything that White can do, and use your extra piece to control things. All right, they both bring the kings into the game a little bit. Black's trump card is going to be the threat to turn this into a queen, which White is so far ignoring. I think they ignored it one move too long, huh? The king can't get over in time anymore. Oops. Yeah, so if we go back a little bit to the start of this endgame, if White recognizes that Black's main plan is to queen this pawn, you can try to make a slightly tougher defense by running your king over this way, right? Instead of towards the queen side. But the thing is, everything that White does is going to be so predictable, right? From Black's perspective, you can get your pawn pretty far, then the white king's just sitting here waiting. And then the black king can just kind of wander in and start eating white's pawns, you know, just all the way through. So that's right, and this king just has to wait here, stopping this pawn from queening. And that's what I mean, how it can be pretty easy to win a game once you get to a really simple endgame with extra material. So in the game, black was able to just walk the pawn down, get a new queen! Uh-oh, too excited about winning. Now No Worries is going to have to recover from that shock. That's going to be a real test of No Worries endgame. And, personal character and strength here. It's still possible to win the game with the extra bishop, but that's a real shock. Maybe a mouse slip. She was trying to head here, or maybe just a full-on blunder, not knowing that she wasn't defended here. But yeah, this is not going to be easy now. And black spent a little bit of time here after king e4, a minute. So that's a good step towards recovering, but we can see they didn't fully recover even with that minute they spent because they didn't find bishop takes pawn. The way to sort of head back into trying to win this endgame is to go after these pawns on dark squares with this bishop. But black played f6, and now white saved the pawn. So it's really not looking like an easy endgame for black now. Yeah. You were correct, Jacob. You are absolutely correct. B6 from No Worries. So if we wanted to go about trying to win this game all over again as black, the first thing I would do is bring this king towards the area of the board where these pawns might fight. I would not make any more pawn moves over here. And some advanced players might be thinking of this move here as being brilliant. B5, very advanced players, you know who you are and you know why you're thinking this. You're thinking that B5 might be a good move. But in most cases, you're better off first bringing your king over before making pawn moves over on the queen side. Your king's so far away, their king's closer. Nothing's being attacked in particular right now, so get your king into the right area of the board. It takes some time, and it's really important. I am Jacob, yeah, just a little bit. All right, we get more pawn moves on that side of the board. I am getting well. I feel fine. It's just lingering congestion from being more sick earlier this week. White plays a very fine move, bringing the king to a lovely square. And it can dream of coming in here. And if it does, who knows what might happen. Whew. Thank goodness No Worries keeps the white king out of that square. Thank goodness. That game could have flipped all the way around if this white king had gotten in one more step. And that's the amazing thing about the power of the king in the endgame, is once that white king gets to e6, you don't even know who's winning or losing the endgame anymore. It's so much better placed than that king, and that king is not allowed to get around it. When you've got a knight that's really well placed, your opponent could bring a knight to trade it or something like that, right? But when you've got a king on a square like e6, you can't trade kings, you know? You're just bullied out of the way by their king, and then they can come in and start eating these pawns. So there we go. The black king gets to a great square, and now No Worries is in comfortable position to win this game, either by bringing the king further forward or by going and attacking these pawns with the bishop. Pawn gets pushed on this side of the board. Good choice from JWMCC, actually making this pawn trade. That's not going to help black at all. is going to get white closer to black running out of pawns that can become queens. Every remaining pawn is a remaining possible queen. You need at least one pawn to survive to become a queen to try and checkmate, and she's going to have to do better than the first queen, who simply sacrificed herself on the altar of trying to go after the opponent's king. What do I think about the Steps Method book series? I've never read it, so I have no particular opinion about it, Patrick. I've heard some good things about it, but... Uh-oh, and we're down to seconds for each player, so we get a new element in this epic game, which is now time trouble. How do the players react to not having much time? Oh no, white again lets a pawn just walk down the board, moves the king away from the pawn. The king had been covering that pawn. Oh no! The king was in perfect position here, right? The pawn was going nowhere. And then the white king ran nowhere, and suddenly the pawn could go somewhere. Let's see how this queen does. Wait, where did the bishop go? King here, bishop g3 instead of queening. And white could move here and stop the queen, but takes the bishop. Black gets the queen. They're just so low on time here. So low on time. Finds the checkmate. Whew. Epic. Epic. And now we will head to the 13 to 1700 section and see if maybe we can find a game of another new fellow here. Boy, what was the name? Boy for Life. We'll see if we can find their games here. Did they give me their chess.com name? Well, we'll see if we can find them. I know they're 1355-ish. So, let's see. Let's see what we find here. So, now we're in the 13 to 1700 group here, looking for a game to watch. 16 players, great. Joshua Major Jr. is rated about 1350. Don't see Boyi. All right. Let's open up some games, see what we got. Garv, right. Thank you, Oscar Chess. That rings a bell. Exactly. It was Garv. Garv does not currently have a game here.